So her leadership is basically divided into three sections or three separate jobs. Um, the Director of Kidney Transplant Fellowship Training Program. Here, she mostly collaborates with medical students, residents, transplant fellows, um, other physicians of different subspecialties, and also patients and families. So, one of the biggest things that Sita emphasized in this environment, and because it's so challenging when she has such a diverse audience, but I mean, if you can, for example, if you can imagine yourself a first year med student, you're not really going to suggest or advise or recommend, um, or give any sort of input on how to manage a patient, especially in a complex service like renal transplant. However, what she does try to emphasize, because she's always teaching in this environment, um, especially when it comes to patient interaction, she really tries to maintain a very high level of professionalism and always tries to have that communication factor always open. So making sure that she's always available for any questions or feedback or any input from anybody really. Um, and then the last thing she emphasized was just this ability or this opportunity for her to leave that everlasting impression and to lead by example. I think because Sita had such influential leaders in her life, um, this is kind of her opportunity to leave an impression with a young student or a young resident, um, because she very well recognizes that these people will someday be in her shoes, and hopefully that they um, conduct themselves in the same way. In the director of professionalism, mentoring, and remediation, so this is probably where she sees most of her leadership qualities come out, only because she deals with medical students for 4 years, um, and she does a number of lectures on renal transplant to, again, medical students, residents, um, and other fellows. And in between all of that, she somehow finds time to attend other universities or high schools and talk to students about the profession of medicine. Here, I find that in this environment, being tasked with that responsibility of mentoring and teaching professionalism to the future wave of doctors requires a tremendous amount of responsibility. I can't imagine being that person who is basically tasked with teaching essentially post undergrad students how to become physicians, and um, it's quite a responsibility that she takes with a lot of pride. Um, and I can't imagine that there would be a better person for that role just because of the characteristics or the qualities or the traits that she possesses. Within the assistant dean of admissions for the MD program, there's not really micromanaging of the staff in this environment, just because, like we learned in class, a lot of the people that are in this environment are very highly educated and content experts in their own fields. So there isn't really isn't any micromanaging of staff or anything like that. But one thing that she does do is she does work in a very multidisciplinary environment here, and within the team environment, they find constantly finding new ways to innovate and make the medical school program better. Because the medical school or the medical program across Canada has changed so much since she was a young physician, the amount of diversity that is happening in all the medical schools now has kind of given way to changes in terms of admissions and how they view applicants. And so they're always constantly trying to find ways to make the school better and to figure out how to really maximize the best applicants.